So a few weeks ago, months ago, I guess, when Jacob originally talked about John Cena's heel turn, I know we kind of shifted away from talking about a bunch of sports on the podcast, but WWE is sports entertainment. And with WrestleMania just happening last week, and I figured it'd be a good time to hop on here and to talk about everything that has happened in the world of professional wrestling. Especially because while the heel turn of John Cena was so positively received, WrestleMania as a whole really was not. Now, that being said, the build-up was incredible. John Cena's heel turn, The Rock showing up, unfortunately Kevin Owens getting hurt, that kind of sucks. Jey Uso's super over, I don't really understand that, but he is. Everything with CM Punk, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins, and yes, of course, this WrestleMania on paper is one of the more successful WrestleManias of all time, because regardless of what you think of WWE in the current era or not, we're probably in the most profitable WWE has ever been, ever. And I know, like, everybody's super big on the Attitude Era and the era of Hulk Hogan and how much dollar revenue that printed. But as far as, like, a media source at this time, I think it's safe to say that WWE is the most popular it's ever been. It's more global than global at this point. It's a cultural phenomenon. Everybody in the world knows what WWE is, and now it really rests in the neighborhood of pop culture, where it's like everybody is reporting on things that's happening in wrestling, especially when it comes to WrestleMania season. And even though that this was probably one of the more profitable WrestleManias as far as dollars and ticket revenue and eyeballs, it's still, in the eyes of the generic fan, was not really that well received, and there's a variety of reasons why, and it's just kind of odd how that has happened and everything that has snowballed after that. Now, not every WrestleMania has to be an absolute barn burner. Of course, you try to make it. The main event with WrestleMania there's some individual really good matches on there, but the thing that most people are talking about as far as a negative light is the John Cena versus Cody Rhodes match, which was the main event of Night 2 of WrestleMania, which is really the stamp on the whole card. You had a lot of really good storylines going into this one. Cody Rhodes obviously was turning with the fan base as we got closer to WrestleMania, only because the majority of fans really wanted John Cena to win this 17-time championship, and he did. And people were happy about it, but people were not happy after the match happened, and that was because one, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson no-showed the event, and it sparked a whole lot of controversy and shitstorming. Sorry, I realized I laid down with my dog, and I am just absolutely covered in dog hair. So a lot of the people who watched the main event of WrestleMania went home pissed off because instead of The Rock interfering in this match, costing Cody Rhodes the title and helping John Cena win his 17th title as a villain, it was Travis Scott, yes, Grammy-nominated rapper Travis Scott, came out to help John Cena win the title. The Rock no-showed, wasn't mentioned at all, and just wasn't there, which is interesting because Travis was, and for whatever reason, Travis is like in this faction with them, or he's in with The Rock. But The Rock wasn't even an afterthought. Like, he wasn't mentioned at all. Like you would think when Travis comes out, Rock's coming out next. Well, that never happened. Rock hasn't come out or has been mentioned or has previously shown up at all. And when it's something as big as the main event of WrestleMania, you have to kind of sit there and figure out why. And when you have something as so prevalent as The Rock starting these storylines and not showing up at the peak of them whenever they are the most important, especially when it's a John Cena heel turn, the fans were not very happy with The Rock no-showing this event. So much so, and the backlash was so severe that The Rock actually went on Pat McAfee's show and discussed the events leading up to that. He basically went on the Pat McAfee show, said that the WWE called him because of the low ticket sales for Elimination Chamber. I don't necessarily believe that. That they wanted him to show up, so he showed up, started a little side storyline with Cody Rhodes, which is a odd continuation of the storyline that they've had post-WrestleMania, said that he wanted Cody's soul, heel turn John Cena, The Rock has turned Superman himself, John Cena, into being a villain. Great storyline. And then he disappeared, didn't show up at the climax of it. Yeah. But The Rock basically, apparently, made that choice himself, saying, listen, I don't want to, let this be about John and Cody. I don't want to interject in this anymore because I have commitments in the future and I don't want to, overstep and continue to... Well, that's dumb because you're the inciting incident in this conflict. See, that's the interesting thing about wrestling is a narrative storyline, and it has live stuntmen and live actors, and whenever one of those live actors who are such a main integral part of the storyline, you can't just recast them like a normal movie. You have to figure out how to make it work without them. And it was The Rock and Cody Rhodes that were like the main characters of the storyline. If you really think about it, John Cena is just a consequence of these two feuding. So whenever you have like a moment as big as the main event of WrestleMania and The Rock willingly saying, you know what, listen, I don't really want to be in this anymore. My work's done. Well, that's kind of shitting on the whole story, don't you think, Dwayne? And to be honest with you, if The Rock didn't want to interject himself in the storyline anymore because he felt like he had prior commitments and he couldn't pay it off in the future, which he didn't pay it off here either, well, why were you in that storyline to begin with? If ticket sales for Elimination Chamber were so low, isn't there like another route that you could have gone to show up? Which I don't believe the ticket sales were low. But isn't there another thing that you could have done or have interjected yourself in? It also kind of backlashes on the whenever he originally became such an important figure in TKO, the company that owns both the UFC and WWE. Whenever he became such an important part of that, he said that this was his new focus and was kind of moving away from the film side of things, at least like when it came to choosing what his priority was. I guess that's not true. Now, obviously, this interview caused a lot of backlash, and there were, like, ESPN was talking, a lot of companies were talking about this interview, and we're kind of saying the same thing that I'm saying now, just kind of rehashing the story. But The Rock even, like, followed up and commented on, like, I can't remember his name, who made a video about it, really pissed off. And he was like, hey, brother, wrestling's a work. It's not real. Well, we understand that, but it's a story, and you are a main character in the story, and you no-show the story. It's kind of like if Thanos just no-showed the ending of Endgame. Do you understand what I'm saying here? Now, I decided to just talk about wrestling a little bit because Backlash was coming to St. Louis, and I'm incredibly excited. But after, I guess Cody Rhodes is going away. John Cena is still a bad guy, and he's flat on his back every week. I guess they're going to do a thing with Randy Orton at Backlash, which is awesome because St. Louis. I wish they would stop letting Cena lay flat on his back and get his ass kicked every week. But yeah, like, this whole thing has kind of turned the heel turn thing a little sour, because it's starting to get to the point where it's like, it's not really that believable for John Cena to actually believing the shit that he's saying. Because the narrative that they should go ultimately is John Cena was manipulated in his old age, thinking that he wasn't worthy of winning the WWE title, and was kind of tricked into this, and everybody falls, but he's going to find his way, and he should find his way probably now more quickly than not. I would say SummerSlam, Cody should come back, and John Cena should turn back into a babyface. But I wonder if The Rock is going to be involved in that as well. Which makes you think, like, is there more shit behind the scenes going on with The Rock and Triple H and the creative control aspect of it? Because I can't imagine Triple H was cool with that. Like, that's crazy. Like, the main event of WrestleMania was ultimately dictated by the interference of one Travis Scott. And John Cena, one of the more important things in WWE history, John Cena winning the 17 title, undisputably becoming the greatest superstar of all time. He already was, but the final image of that night was John and Travis Scott holding the title up. I guess the final image was John walking out with the belt on his, wrapped around him. But still, it just doesn't make sense. And, yeah. yeah, I just want to kind of come on here and kind of shit talk on that. Like, I like The Rock. I like it when he's around. I wish he was around more. But I don't want him to come around, interject himself in the biggest story in wrestling, and then not be here for the final payoff. It just doesn't... Let's not do that anymore if we could, Dwayne. So yeah. I know videos have been spotty the last couple weeks. We're working to make some new videos, some more big forever whatevers for the summer. So a lot of our time has been dictated towards filming that, as well as kind of changing the format of things a little bit. You know, kind of trying to update things, continuing to try to pump out videos. My work schedule's gotten a little more hectic as I'm starting to transition something there. Which makes editing a little bit hard, but the majority of the reason is because we are working on filming bigger videos to be put out in the summer. So that means things are a little spotty right now as we focus on getting those knocked out. So we have been filming those, and now we are editing those, and then we're going to continue filming those. We're also kind of like looking to add more things to the channel with some gaming stuff. Pulled out the old Elgato. It was an ancient Elgato from the PS3 era, I believe, and that's not going to work on the PS5. So I'm going to have to get a new Elgato, and then I think we're going to do some Minecraft stuff. I think we're going to do some Pro Club stuff. I think me and John are going to play some Phasmophobia. I think there's just room for, we're working on some big things to come to the channel, more episodes, more, variety. We're going to have some gaming here. We're going to still do these reviews and reactions. We're going to have the Forever Whatevers. And then as far as Forever Talking, we're looking to upgrade that. So please be patient with that as Forever Talking takes a slight break, it seems, as we kind of play along with and start implementing things for the summer that we are extremely excited about. So yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. Peace, love, adios, and goodbye.